Next semester.
Next semester, I believe I'm set to teach 360 and 401 again.
Oh, okay. I'll be done, so.
What is this week?
I'm veiled.
Maybe something's going on today. Maybe they all have the flu.
We did send out an announcement like yesterday.
It was 310. What do you learn from 310?
It's a different language.
It's a symbol language?
Yeah, we read it the same,
A symbol
same
language.
Same time.
Is it? No.
Yeah, but it's hella hard though. I think it's a good thing that they make it online. If they make it in person, everybody I think will feel like it's a whole different language and it has its own different algorithm to it.
Well, once we were on Pygame,
Okay. Well, should be chill.
Like they don't use loops.
Unless he's bringing
Yeah.
the crowd, we should probably start. Alright. So, quick show of hands, who was here for last week? Okay, so last week we set up Pygame. We can work on getting that set up for our one person miss. So this week we were going to actually use it. So we set it up last week, and this week we're going to actually try and see how we can get it to work. So I've got a couple of examples that I can show off. These little programs here are more or less I follow just some of the the Pygame website, which is a good resource to use. But couldn't take me more than 2 or 3 hours to put this together, and I was, I'm no expert on this. I had to look a lot of stuff up to get it to work. I tried my best to recreate you guys know the offline dinosaur game on Google. If you're not online, you go to Google and it lets you play the dinosaur and go over text. I tried my best to recreate that. I didn't have a lot of time, so it's very primitive. So give it a sec. There it is. And I can press the button and have it jump. So not a terribly fleshed out version, but it is a game that does have a start and an end and a score. Although I can't restart it, I have to restart it. I have to text it out. But even a simplistic project like this shows off all of the really important points of making a game. I mean, all the more complex and fleshed out games are just something like this, but with a little bit more polish. I mean, all the important pieces are making the program run and displaying images, actually getting images and displaying them. So it's not like hand drawing the dinosaur and the cactus. It's importing PNGs. Doing collision and getting keyboard input. So you can see all of those pieces together. So before I break it down, I want to show off another one that I put together in just about as much time as this one. Just open up another project. So this one's a similar project, except this time I just wanted to try and get a bouncing ball to move around and follow some gravity. So if I can start this one up. This one doesn't have any input. Once I start it, it just simulates a bouncing ball, just in 2D. So let it go, takes a second, and eventually it'll pop up. There it goes. Just kind of follows gravity, eventually comes to a stop. Which took about a similar amount of effort. What's cool about this one is I can resize the game window, and it's physics, so it'll just respond appropriately. So I can't resize it as it's going. That's
Well,
what
can
I'm-
you make the ball jump? Let's say that you program the ball and then let's say that you press space and then hit the ball again.
Sure, I can do something like that. Let's see. I would need to cross-reference with my other one. It's fairly simple here. Let me just
I think it is. Oh, never mind. Hold on a second.
It still works even if I shrink the screen to 300, 300, half the size, so now it's going to ricochet. nothing super complex, just, you know, simulating some very basic physics. So that's the kind of thing we wanna get you guys working with today, have you make something along those lines. Because it really isn't that difficult. I mean, this program, the one with Johnson Ball, is less than 100 lines. The dinosaur one is also less than 100 lines. If I open Project Solution, go back to the other one. Find it.
What's up?
Hello.
Hey, there's a sign-in sheet if you guys don't mind. Did you take a look at anything, or are you just coming in fresh still?
Huh?
This one's
Did
also.
you take a look at anything, or do you come in
It's
fresh
about the
still?
same length, about 80 lines. So that's what we want to get you guys.
What's that?
Working
What do you
on
mean?
Did you
today.
review any of the
So-
Python stuff?
I reckon the
I don't
first
know
thing
what
we can do is we can start just by trying to recreate what I've got here. I'll walk through each of the steps, each of the lines, and we can talk about what they do, what they accomplish, and then hopefully you'll be able to actually get it running on your own machine, assuming you've got Pygame already. So we have one person without Pygame. You guys have Pygame? Were you here last week?
I was not here last year.
Okay, so we have a couple people in Pygame. Do you guys have Visual Studio?
Yeah.
Okay, so to get Pygame on Visual Studio is actually not that complicated. You can make sure that when your Visual Studio installation has the Python packages, which you can just run the Visual Studio installer to double check that. So, real quick, let's just run through how to get it working, get a Pygame working. So I'll start from the top.
Do you have Visual Studio?
So Visual Studio,
Visual Studio.
you don't land on the screen
Oh,
here.
yeah, both. Professor, should we run strictly on Visual Studio for this one?
I think it'd be easier. It's all in one. It's pretty easy to set.
Okay, just open Visual Studio.
Yeah.
This one. Yeah.
So yeah, open up the purple one, Visual Studio. You should get on this
Studio.
screen. I could walk you through the process from here.
Yeah, Visual Studio? Yeah. Nice. Amazing. King,
So
you wanna join?
Yeah, I'm going on.
Yes.
I got it. I'm really familiar with
So-
Visual Studio. You guys have
VS Code. Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm not the expert on VS Code. Our VS Code expert is coming in about 10 minutes.
Do you take any CS class?
No.
So, these
Not this
instructions will only
semester.
work for Visual Studio
This is my
Code,
CS class for the semester,
not VS Code.
basically.
So you finished all your CS class? Or?
No,
So we're here.
I'm planning
creating
on-
projects.
I'm just finishing up my
Project.
electives, so I'll just be able to focus on them and
Should-
this
First
stuff
off-
really.
First option should be Python application. If you do not have that option, then that means you didn't install the Python packages, and we'll need to go back to the installer.
You have GitHub, right?
So do you guys have whoever's using the Visual Studio, do you have the Python package here? Is Python an option?
I
No?
have a question, Gideon. Are we gonna be, do you have a repo, or are we just going up,
So you start from scratch.
starting from scratch? Alright, cool.
Okay, so if you don't have Python
Yeah,
listed
so-
here, then we're gonna have to go back to your Visual Studio installer. If you remember where you put the installer, probably it's still in your downloads folder. Must be. I'm pretty sure mine is still in my downloads folder.
So we're using the same Python folder from last week.
You can use the same one.
Okay, 'cause that one was just like it was hello. That was it.
Yeah, we didn't do much of it last week, but you got it set up, and so now this week you can actually add on to it and code inside it. So while everybody's checking their packages, maybe checking the installer,
And then
we'll have to walk through and help around with that. But for those of you who already have it, you can get a taste of what we're going to do by going to pygame.org, which is just Pygame's site. At the top, they've got getting started, which then will put us on some. Here, this is what we want. Is the Pygame links. This green looking page here. this is all the useful, information for Pygame, all the documentation, a bunch of tutorials. This is a very good reference for working Pygame. This is more or less exclusively what I use when I need to look stuff up, to put the other projects together.
So I'm in Pygame right now. So how do I get to that page?
This is just on the browser. This is just documentation. So you open up Google Chrome, pygame.org/docs.
Nice. Thank you. Can I just follow, Professor? Alright. Yeah, Visual Studio, right?
So it's not working. When
Where
it said pygame.org. That's what I just did.
Ours went to Pygame.org.
We're gonna bring like.
Yeah, I did. .org.
Or
How do I?
Mars website is different than yours.
Actually,
Pygame.
never mind, go straight to docs.
You're on the right track right
So
now.
it's
I just
right
typed in
there.
Pygame.
Oh, never mind. That's right here.
There you go.
You just wanna get to documentation, this has all, I mean, you see the list at the top is even
Renato.
organized it as most useful stuff to advance stuff.
Are you guys working together?
So, let's see, anybody need assistance, getting the
Yeah.
environment set up?
So Visual Studio, or you're a pro.
Yeah, I've been touching Visual Studio because it's mandatory for my class. Yeah, really familiar, really used to it now.
So, so when you're creating a new project, you would make a Python application, look for the standard Python application, and then you'll give it whatever name you like. So, hold on, let me go back. Open up Visual Studio, you get onto the landing screen right here. Okay. So, can we do this in code spaces?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, but no. I would, you can't open
Yeah, I know.
You can code on Postbase, but I don't think you can. Because he has Chrome OS, and I don't think you can Studio supports.
What?
When in doubt, we might be able to utilize the virtual lab that we have here on campus.
And there's like a bunch of like MacBooks on the shelf that we can borrow to something like that.
Okay.
Honestly, you can work on that, or you can work on a laptop.
I can go with this.
Unless you want the game, yeah, okay, cool.
Okay, so, everyone's either installing or has the Python project open, the Python project, same project that we had last week would also work if you already had that all set up. So, create the new Python project, I'm gonna open mine instead of creating a new one. Okay. So when you're in the project, it should give you a starting Python file, I believe, the .py. If you should see in the Solution Explorer window,
Visual Studio doesn't
your
support
Solution
that.
Explorer window might be on the right instead of the left. I moved mine to the left.
Yeah,
because
because
that's what I
Core
did.
S is is the way.
So, you've all got some kind of .py file to work with, right? Yours is gonna be empty. Mine's full of code because I wrote the code. Yours is probably gonna be empty. Alright, everybody good, either up to this point or no?
So we just copy and paste.
I'll walk through what each of these do, what each of these lines do, so you can copy it down, but I'm gonna walk through it line by line. In fact, let me just real quick, make the text a bit bigger, there we go. So you've probably started with an empty file. So the very first thing in your empty file that you're gonna put is your imports. The imports are how we actually import the packages, so we can get access to them in our code. So in this case, the important one is import Pygame. Now you could just have import Pygame, period, or no period. Import Pygame stop. What that does is it imports Pygame and all of its packages so that you can use them. Now, when you want to use the packages, you'll have to reference your package name, so Pygame dot whatever. So if you want to access, for example, here's one. It would be pygame.display.setMode. And Pygame is not a very long word, but it could be shorter. And so what you can do in Python is you can rename the packages when you import them to use your own preferred name. So I imported Pygame as PG. So now instead of pygame.display.set mode, I say pg.display.set mode. So I just gave it a shorter name that I reference in my own code. I've also imported sys, which lets me close the project. It's the sys for system. So I use this in exactly one place to close the program when it's done. All right. Another super important thing when working with Pygame is we have to initialize the Pygame modules. Don't just import them, we also need to initialize them so they're running and so that they work when we call them. So that's where the pg.init comes in. So if you didn't rename it to pg, this would be pygame.init. Or if you gave it a different name other than pg, it would be that.init. So that's the function call that gets everything initialized. So once you've done that, just those little lines so far, now you're basically running Pygame. Now you just have to construct the actual game that's going to show. So the first thing that I do, these 3 lines, 7, 8, 9, actually, just 7 and 9 in this case. Only 7 and 9 are the required ones here. Is I set the size of the screen. I set the size of the screen and then I create the screen. So size, this is a bit weird syntax that we see sometimes in Python. Size gets, width, comma, height gets 1280, comma, 720. So this is interesting. What's happening here is I'm
Hey, we got a
creating
signage
3
here, bro.
variables.
You don't buy the
I'm
pizza,
creating
yeah.
width as, what is it, 1280. So that's the width of my screen. And then I'm creating height as 720. That's the height of my screen.
Good to
And
see you
then
there.
I'm
How you
creating
doing?
size as a
Chilling.
value pair of width, comma, height. So it's like a tuple or a coordinate pair or a 2-length array, you might even say, that is size. So I've got width, the standalone variable 280, height, the standalone variable 720, and then size, which is the combination of those two. So that one line, line 7, does all of that. Then let's ignore grounded position for now. Line 9, I create my screen. So screen gets, and the way you create your screen is your module, so PG in my case, dot display dot set underscore mode. That is the function that sets and creates and gives you the screen. And you have to specify the size. So I specified size, which is the tuple width and height. So this creates the screen with width and height. I could have also done it like this, just to show an alternative form. I could have said screen gets pg dot display dot set underscore mode, and then I could have said open parenthesis with comma height. Create the tuple right there inside of it. In this case, I created a variable holding that value instead of doing it on the fly. I believe you can also pass the width and height separately, so I could have just passed the width and height directly.
I'm sorry, I was still taking
Wait,
notes on my.
can you help him? I never, I don't know, you don't be the studio.
Let's ignore that. I skipped ground position, I'm just talking about screen.
That one's Chrome OS and kind of
So,
fast.
PG got displayed on
Yeah,
some,
they
so
have
here I'm just
Windows
passing width and height,
laptops
and
in
if
the
I-
library.
Perhaps this, I would say this is less useful code, because I want to reference width and height later, so I want them to be variables. But I could have even gone more
Yeah.
primitive and just passed the values directly into display.set.
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with
You
Chrome
can
OS.
see
I
my
was trying to
solution
mess
up
with
there
it before, but
creates variable names and puts them together and gives
the
them a nice,
one they let you
concise
download only
definition
works
of all
on
my
certain
numbers.
devices and
So
stuff.
technically, what's required for the display
I have to
set
like
to get
log
your
in and
screen
stuff,
is
and
just
I don't
a-
like logging
even
into my
separate
main
things.
accounts.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to use
really
that
haven't
one. I'm going to
separated
comment
my-
it out.
It's all good.
Comments are hashed.
Like
so
burner
it's
accounts for
commented
my
out.
main, so I
So
kind of
I'm
was like,
using the
nah,
one
I'm
on
not doing
line
this right
9.
now.
Yeah.
The one on line 10 is equivalent, but I'm using the one on line 9. All right, everybody understand that so far? All I've talked about is importing and creating the size of my screen variable and creating the screen. So now,
I think some of us don't have package installed.
yeah, okay, so once you download the Python packages, there's another step. one second, everybody. Okay, so we need to go to,
Are you transferring this year? This is your last year?
No, definitely not. Are you?
Let's see what I get.
He's trying to jump in.
No, I'm definitely not transferring for a minute. I gotta do like all my units here.
I don't usually just, I usually just leave
And try and do all your lower division class here.
everybody understands so far?
Yeah, and Los Rios, yeah.
Lot,
Okay.
lot.
So,
That's pretty long, bro. You trying to do all your lower division here?
question?
I have to.
Because university calculus is lower division over there.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's like 500 a unit.
Yeah, that is true. Calculus 1, 2, 3, and differential linear is lower division. It's a 4 year.
I'm sure, yeah, there's stuff I know, but
So technically, the import to this is.
I gotta throw some elbows around you. I mean.
I did plan it to do
In this
that,
case, the
but
tutorial I was
like,
following used
I don't know, man.
Yeah. So
That
I've
is
seen
just
other
way too
ones
long.
which use
Yeah.
a built-in function in.
It is,
Python, which
yeah,
actually
for
allows
sure.
all
Yeah.
example shows instead. So we can look at that one.
So when I
But
said something like it,
the important one is Python.
I was
I don't even know how to.
So when you import the package, I could have just said import Pygame, but whenever I want to call on that module, I have to type the name. So I have to say Pygame dot whatever function is inside Pygame. So in Python, they allow you to rename the packages in case they're too long for you. So Pygame's not that bad. There are some Python packages that are very long and have very long names, and you don't have to say that every single time.
then you can check.
So what you can do is you can say import this, but give it this other name. So import this as this
You
other.
tell me to get that?
Yeah, so in my program, Pygame, the Pygame module, is called PG. It uses the variable PG, which is what we see here. So I'm not saying Pygame.display.set, I say PG.display.set, and it references Pygame. Same thing for PG.image. That's all. So anywhere you see PG in my program, that is the Pygame module. I could replace PG with the word
The
Pygame
cheap is
at
hella
any point.
small. Not a little bird.
And that would be me not giving it a name. Okay, everybody understand what we've covered so far? I've talked just about what's on the screen except for blank ink. Right, everyone good?
Yeah, I mean, I had Chrome OS running on this thing,
So
but
to quickly talk about line
But you don't
int,
have Python.
I didn't get too far with
specify
it
somewhere in my
because it
code
wanted me to log in,
where
and
the
I didn't
ground
want to log
level
in.
is
For
for
what?
my images. So the dinosaurs running along the ground.
The Google environment.
So what I did was I made a variable
So,
that
talking about from
specified
that,
where
I was
the
gonna
ground
run.
is,
I was
which
gonna
made
had a specific use, and I didn't want it tied into my Google stuff. I wanted.
yeah.
If you watch this,
And I didn't have.
change
You
ground
have to have a
position
phone number.
to
Well, I have to
0.2.
have a phone number to
Now
run
it's only
a Google
20%
account.
of the way down the screen.
A separate
And so if I
account.
run my program, yours doesn't have anything else to run. But if I run my program, you'll see
You just follow along.
now the ground level's way up there. So I made here the ground level is 20% of the way down the screen instead of 60%. So ground level isn't some kind of built-in Python, Pygame terminology. That's a variable I created to store the positioning of my images that I wanted. So
The
you
flex,
can
yeah.
recreate it exactly as I had it. I had it at 0.6. So I take the height of the screen, multiply it by 0.6.
Yeah, I was doing with the
60%
Chrome
of the way
OS
down.
Flex.
Width and height are measured,
Got it.
the top is 0 for height, the left is 0 for width. So 0, and then the other side is the maximum. So for width it'd be 1280, and the bottom would be height 720. So height 0, we count up going down, so I'm 60% of the way down. That's what I chose to be my ground level. You can put it at 0.5, that would put your images exactly at the halfway point down the screen. And you can put it at, you could just put height, and that would make them all the way at the bottom of the screen. If you put it 0, then it would be at the top of the screen. This is just a variable that I created for my images, for my positioning. This isn't something built into like Pygame. Okay, everyone understand that one? Now let's get a little bit more on the screen. So next up, let's look at these few lines. So, let's see, times 12, 13, 15, and 16. Here, I am importing the images. So I actually have some PNGs that I'm importing into my code to use here. So, if we look in, so you can open up your folder by right-clicking the name of your project and going down to Open Folder in File Explorer. So you can also just find it in your computer, but this is the fast way to locate it in Visual Studio. So I click that, you can see the folder of my project, and you can see I've got a couple, here's my program file, the name.py. I've got some Visual Studio whatever, and I also have my two PNGs. This is where my cactus PNG and dinosaur PNG are. So when I open up dinosaur PNG, it's just going to show me, there it is. That's my image for the guy. So, if you guys are following along, at this
Can
point,
you
you're
change
gonna
color?
grab- Say that again?
Can you change the dinosaur color?
So when you go
One
to
more time?
Can you change color?
Yeah. In this case, it would just be, I just have to use like Photoshop to change it, which I don't have on there. So, I mean, if I change the PNG, that would change the image, and that would change what's displayed. So at this point, you guys can go ahead and find yourself two images. It can be any image format. Pygame supports basically all of them. So just find yourself some two images and put them here in your folder to use. One for your character that runs, mine's the dinosaur, and one for the thing they jump over, mine's the cactus. I just Google image search for the dinosaur, and then I threw it into MS Paint.
Can I
so
see the
make
code
background,
again?
Transparent.
Can I see the code?
So this is just in the file for the project. So again, if I close, you can easily find your project file by right-clicking the name of your project. If you're in Visual Studio, right-click the name of your project and go to Open Folder in File Explorer. If you're not using Visual Studio, then you will just need to find whatever folder your code file is in. Doesn't matter where it is on your computer, it just needs to be in the same place as your code file. So you can Google image search and just grab some images. As long as you don't sell this project that you're making, there's not going to be any copyright issues. You can use some images that you have for yourself, that you already have on your computer. You can quickly whip something up in MS Paint if you're artistically talented. Just need two images. They can be PNGs or JPGs, JPEGs, or GIFs, GIFs, whatever your preference is. It supports basically every image format. And if you use a GIF/GIF and it's animated, it will animate. So that's another cool thing that can do. Pygame just supports that. That's the cool part about Python and Python packages, is they just work when you want to do something like that. Mine's not animated though. I could not find the dinosaur GIF with him running. I looked.
Or you can like import like 3 different photos and move through the images.
Basically. So go ahead and just find yourselves two images. I considered making it, I've got it, for work, I've got just a picture of my face for like my profile. I considered making it that, but I wanted to actually make the dinosaur.
Nice. I'm gonna send the dinosaur and cactus PNG and workshop in events in the Discord.
Oh, yeah.
So if you guys want to download, it's in the Discord right now.
If you want to use the same images that I have.
Yeah.
Not strictly required, but
But you guys can customize. But if you want to follow along using his images, it's in workshops and events channel.
Can I ask a question? Well, can you download like a different type of dinosaur? Let's say that you want to download like a T-Rex.
just grab it, you just need an image file of a T-Rex. It can be an image of anything. Pygame doesn't actually care what the image is of. You just need an image file.
I need your help on that.
I mean, if you really wanted to make it super primitive, you could even not import an image and just draw a square on the screen. That might
Go
be
back to
pretty
Visual
long.
Studio.
For
Click right here.
an actual game,
Let's
we'll
do
do that.
Godzilla PNG bracket. Right? And then you can download this.
So, just get your two images, and then I'll go back to the code that shows how to import them.
And
Just
you can
file
save it
explorer.
in this file right here, so you know where this is.
I think you can also use it from the terminal. Hey, Edward, can you use the Explorer dot in the
Yeah, if
terminal?
you have the terminal, you can do Explorer plus dot. If you can open the terminal.
You guys have it on?
Also, don't worry about the size of the image, we will rescale them. And mind you,
Yes.
in case the dinosaur
if you
and cactus
go-
are actually giant images that I'm seeing.
You're already, cause you already clicked on it when you're opening that. You can just type in explore or not.
Oh, just where
So what I did was I
Yeah.
took a
Oh.
screenshot
But if you
of
do
it
it,
and just cropped out the image of a single cactus and saved that as a video.
yeah, basically.
I mean,
So you do control.
in this
But-
case, it doesn't matter, it's, I'm
So
not
you can
selling
do it
this, I
from
don't need to
terminal
worry
rate
about
two, which I
copyright
recommend.
protections. This is for educational purposes.
So you can type explorer. Right, see, and that opens the explorer
We're actually
process.
making a game
And, but if
that
you put the
plan to
dot, it
distribute,
automatically
especially if you plan to
copies
sell it,
the,
you wanna make sure that the images you use,
the
you
location.
have the rights to.
That's cool.
It's free to share. Something,
Oh, no.
public domain, something like that.
You know, open it just like that, already in the directory.
Alright, everybody got their two images? Anybody not have their two images? I'm not seeing any hands, so nobody, everybody's ready to move on.
Just right now.
Okay, so back to the code.
Wait, you guys need
So lines 12 through 16 are what I'm using to load it. So here's what I'm doing. Starting on line 12, I'm creating a variable called Dino. This is the variable that's holding my image object. And then I import it using pygame.image.load and providing the file. If that file is in the same location as your code file, you don't need to provide any path to it. Pygame.image.load, of course, I call my Pygame. So that's what that first line does, and then also line 15 does the same for my cactus. You don't have to call them Dino and Cactus if you use different images, you can call them whatever you like, as long as you keep straight what they are. So lines 12 and 15, I'm importing them into the variables. Then on lines 13 and 16, I'm scaling them down. So or up if your images are very small. I'm changing their size. So I'm calling the function pg.transform.scale, providing my image object, and then providing another tuple. So this one's the parenthesis 100, 100. So I make them both 100 by 100. Which is a nice size considering my whole screen is 1280 by 71. So makes them fit nicely on the screen. If you want to experiment, you can make them bigger or smaller. Nothing wrong with that. For example, if I make my little dinosaur 400 by 400 and try running it, what we should see is the dinosaur is 4 times the size. There he is. He's also lower. And his hitbox is not correct. But he's certainly there. So I wrote it so that it would work with him 100, 100. And this, I know line 16 gets cut off, it's just, it looks the same thing in the line. Okay. So, everybody's got that so far, right? All right. So, now before we, I believe next, so before I worry about any of the rest of this, let's just get something to display on your screen so we can see if everything's working. So I'm going to jump way down. Way down. So, if you're making a game, you want things to, loop. This is like your frame rate. So these things are going repeatedly. So what I would do is I would create a while true loop, like I have here. Just while true, an infinite loop. So while true, colon, and then anything inside the loop, for those of you unfamiliar with Python, anything inside the loop needs to be indented in. We use indentation to specify loop blocks instead of brackets.
First person.
Now, you don't have to copy all of this, but I would copy this for loop and its
Ah,
variable
man.
as well. So what this is saying is while true, so loop infinitely.
Oh no, I'm in
Then at
this
the beginning of the loop,
stupid.
do another
I'm not
loop,
used to
a for loop, for every event in the Pygame events. So pg.event.get gets us the list of events that have happened. So this is keeping track of all the events that are occurring in Pygame. of those events is if you hit the X button to close the window. That's what we're checking for. If event type is pg.quit. So in other words, if you hit the quit button, then I call system.exit. And that just shuts the program down right then and there. So it's not really an infinite loop. You hit the X button on the window, and it just shuts down right then and there. So you need that for the while loop for your game loop. If you don't have it looped infinitely, then your game's going to run a few times and stop. You don't want that to happen. Then every game loop, we check the events. There's not usually a lot of events, but one of them is closing the window, which is what we're looking for. Check to see if we close the window, and then exit if we close the window. That's where we get it. That's the only place where we're using the import sys, is just to exit the folder. So you've imported your images, you scaled them, then you have your while true loop here to check for the events and check to see if anything's ended. Don't worry about the rest of this code, I'll come back to this. Then I'm going to jump way down to here. So here is the next part that we want to show, all this. This is where we're actually drawing. So you've imported your images, you created your game loop, you check to see if the window's closed. Now we can actually draw the images, and then you'll be able to actually see something once you have these lines. So to start with, we fill the screen with a color. I chose white as my background, whatever you choose here is your background color.
Fucking Pygame, man.
You need to
Just
fill
say
the
that for
screen
then.
inside your loop, repeatedly, repeatedly, repeatedly. Because how game graphics work is when you draw onto the screen, things are just added. It's never erased. So technically, when I have the dinosaur in one place, and then I have him move a little bit, it's not going to erase its previous movement. You have to constantly fill the screen with the new background color. Effectively, wipe clean with the background color and then draw on top of that. Next frame, wipe clean with background color, draw on top of that. If I don't wipe clean, if I remove this screen.fill wipe, what happens is it stops wiping the screen clean. And so I get something like this. So my images just smear. I have no background color, and the images just kind of smear all over the place. So we don't want that. So we want to fill with white, or fill with whatever background color. Take your favorite. You can either type a name of a color, or you can do an RGB value. So just number, comma, number, comma, number. That will also work. So just to show that off, just in case you want to be creative, if I comment this line out and replace it with screen.fill, and I do, let's say, 255, 200, 0, that's going to be RGB, so maximum red, it goes up to 255, then most green, and then not a lot of blue, or no blue at all. You guys know what color that's going to look like, just generally? It's going to be like kind of a bright orange, I believe. Or I made a mistake. Okay. This needs to be a single value. So I can't just pass number, comma, number, comma, number. I have to pass a triplet with inside the parentheses of number, comma, number, comma, number. Now it should work. So now I run it. And then there's the color. And that also shows you, I chose a white background because my images kind of have white background, so it makes the illusion falls away if the background's not white. So let me go back and make the color white. Not make it orange, instead make it white. Then I have 4 blits. Screen.blit for one thing, screen.blit for another thing, screen.blit, screen.blit. Blit is not an acronym, it's a verb. You blit something. It's a graphics term. To blit something means to put one image on top of another. In this case, I'm blitting my dinosaur and cactus images onto my screen. The screen is an image, so I'm blitting them onto the screen. So in this case, you're only going to have your 2 dino and cactus. You'll see I also have 1 blit for this text object and 1 blit for this end text object. Text is the text that shows the score, and end text is the score that shows game over. So I have those. For you, you're just going to have these 2. Oh, but we don't have the rect for that, do we? Okay, hold on. Back up to the top. So what you're going to want to do after you load in your images, so yeah, back up at the top, there's your pg.image.load and scale. Just add this line right here to line 18. Dino rect gets dino.getRect. So the image is just an image object, it's just visual. What we want to do here is actually get the touchable, the collidable, the manipulatable object that the image is going to be pasted upon, the rectangle. Rectangles are the things in your code. Anything can be a rect, everything is a rect. So I'm getting the rectangle underneath. So the image has this rectangle, I'm getting that rectangle so I can manipulate it and move it and do whatever I want with it. So just do that first line, line 18, don't worry about line 19 and below. So I'm getting the rect for my dinosaur. And then do the same thing, I've got a few lines below, for the cactus rect. Don't worry about the rest of these. Don't worry about the width and height and center, don't worry about it. Just do the dino rect get rect on line 18, and then what I have on line 23. I just want to get you guys to the starting point where we can see stuff displayed on the screen. Then we can figure out how to manipulate it and move it and put it in the right place and get it to respond to a space bar and all that fun stuff. Alright, so once we've got those rects, leave it on the screen just a little bit longer. Again, just worry about line 18 and line 23 for now. So once you've got that, I'm going to scroll back down to the bottom, back inside the list, back to the blitz.
So what is the last one? Is this in here?
Don't worry about the center. Don't copy that one down. Just worry about the get rect lines. So for you, you're going to need the screen filled with your color. Then just the two blitz for the cactus and the dino. You don't have text or any text yet. We'll add those in a bit. And then last but not least, last but certainly most important, we need this final line, pg.display.flip. So Pygame automatically uses a video buffer system. So what it does is when you're actually drawing stuff on the screen, it doesn't immediately draw it on the screen. You're actually drawing it to a hidden buffer. And what's on the screen just stays static. So you draw it to a hidden buffer, and then you flip. The buffer becomes the active screen, and the active screen becomes the buffer. So by flipping, you're constantly switching out the buffer that you have prepared with the old image. I mean, this is happening 30 times, 60 times a second. Like, this is the frame rate. So it's very, very fast. But you're constantly flipping out your buffer with the active screen. So it automatically has this video buffer in it. If you're working in a more primitive system, you might just draw stuff directly on the screen, which could present you with the problem of watching things pop in every frame. Since this, we have a static image, and the next image isn't displayed until it's fully prepared and you flip it back. Okay, so what your code should look like at this point, you have the imports at the top, followed by your init, pygame.init, or py.init. Following that, we have setting the screen size, which was size gets with comma height gets 1280, 720. And then we initialize our screen by saying screen gets pg.display.setMode size. We have that next. Then you might have set ground position. We're not using it at the moment, but you might have that. Then you are getting your images, right? That's what we have next. So you've got your images. Yes. You have the image.load and the transform, and then the image.load and the transform. And then after that, you have the two getRect lines. So dino-rect and getRect. Don't worry about the rest of these. Just dino-rect and getRect. Line 18 here and line 23 here. Then you have the start of your while loop, which has the for loop and if statement immediately inside of it. And then the only other thing inside of your while loop are the screen fill, the two screen blitz for your two images, and the display. Everybody up to that point, just with the lines that I described. If you are up to that point, you should be able to run your code and see your images on the screen with the background. They're not going to move, they're not going to do anything, they're probably going to be up on the top left corner, but they will be there on the screen. You've got a starting point. All right, go ahead and try it once you've got all that. So once we're we're up to this point, then as we continue to make changes, you'll be able to test them and see how they affect the screen. It's a lot more fun when you can change a number and see how it changes the code. Everybody able to get their images displayed on screen?
No.
No.
No, not working. I see an example to see what it looks like.
They gotta be in a while loop too.
Yes. So after the while loop, so anything that I say comes after the while loop goes inside the while loop. We have the setup that exists before the loop, and then we have the loop, which is the stuff that happens every single frame.
Well,
Let's see. So it doesn't display on the screen?
I don't even have the wild loop because I can't see it.
Okay.
Is there a repo?
No.
Okay.
So here, let me, I'm going to, very quickly, I'm going to,
So you got the high time flow. Cause we can't do it.
yeah, so let me, I'm going to create a new file so I can have it work along with you guys. So
Yeah.
What the hell?
Example.py. So you guys should have.
I
this
tried
is
to
the
create
code
a
that
new
you guys
file
should
and it doesn't put it in
import
there.
Pygame, possibly as PG, required, sys,
Oh.
and size, yes.
When about like 1 hour left.
We got time.
Well, 80.
And then,
Ground position.
screen, yes. Dot display dot set mode size. And we've got the images, so Dino gets PG dot display dot load. Image load? What's it called? PG dot image dot load. Okay. I don't have all this stuff memorized either. Image dot load, and then I did the same one with dinosaur. G.
You want it?
That's fair game. I don't think it's a problem yet. And then I also need the scale lines, so.
Just sign our sheet. We need a signature.
Just sign it. I get some numbers.
Okay, so we got that, then I got the Dino Rex, yes.
Fridays.
This is continuation of last week.
Yeah.
There should be a video.
We're gonna do 3 of these. Next week will be this Pygame 2.
And there should be video on Discord. On Discord, yeah.
There should be documentation
From
too.
the last week.
Yeah.
Can you show it to me afterwards?
So, I can after this.
Oh.
But you should just be able to open Visual Studio and just open a Python blank app. That's pretty much where we're at.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing right now.
And then, yeah, he's typing it out right now. Oh.
Typing that.
And now I'm missing it where I was missing it.
So everything is wired.
Very bottom, PG dot display. Okay, I believe that's everything, let me test it really quickly.
This is uppercase quick.
Okay. So if you had done it, followed along correctly, your screen should look something like this. Maybe you have an image, maybe you have a color. Should look something like this.
Did we look at the code?
Yeah, we need to see the code.
I'll show the code again, I just wanna make sure, this is what we're aiming for.
Okay.
This
And
is,
and can you zoom out so you can see all of the environment? Yeah, cause like you zoom in like that, yeah, we see a bit, so we don't see all of it. How you do it now?
so this is all you need at the moment. I know it's now time to pass. But that's all you need to get to the point where we left off.
Now it's kind of small.
Well, I
Let's take a picture of it first.
yeah, let's see, I can maybe get rid of a few of the empty lines, but I can't make it, actually, hold on, I can quickly go in here.
I'll post the source code after this workshop.
Alright, yeah, that's better.
So that's all the code that we've talked about so far.
Everything's going good?
This is going
Yeah.
to be important
You can
stuff.
cheat.
Lit is something you'll be using a lot in Pygame, because you need to lit things, one image onto another. Here we're blitting the dino and the cactus onto the screen. And the way we're doing it is we're specifying blit the image dino onto the position dino lit. So it seems a bit weird that we would have to get the rectangle and then specify the rectangle here, but that's just how lit works. So we get the image, we want a rectangle, and we lit it, we say, put the image on this rectangle on the screen. Is that a question?
Yeah, if it's a JPEG, does it still import?
It should, as long as you specify the whole file name. So mine was dinosaur.png, yours can be dinosaur.jpg or whatever. And if you've got all this working, then you'll get
Oh,
what I
what's
just
up, man?
showed, the empty screen with whatever your background is.
Sign in, dog, sign in.
And the images, you'll probably
I
only
know,
see the
right?
one image stuck up in the corner
Cactus,
because the two
right.
images are gonna overlap. So, mine shows just two of them. In fact, if I switch the order that you draw things is important. As you draw them, you'll put things on top of one another. So if I do cactus first, before I do dino, then the dinosaur will draw on top of the cactus. So now I should maybe see both of them a little bit.
Yeah, bro, take care.
Yeah, there it is. So there's my images.
I'll
Both stuff on
look
the
into
screen.
Flex too, see if I can figure anything out. Maybe if I get around to it.
Okay. Everybody able to get to that point? Everybody just have their stuff now? Or we gonna s-
Cactus.
Okay, you don't have to see in your.
When do the meetings start?
3. But I
don't
mean,
know what happens to my video.
if you're late and it doesn't, I mean, it's not that big of a deal, but show up still if you know. Did you see that thing I tagged you on? With the Python?
No.
It's in the Discord. The guy, he had some kind of camera Python script. It's kind of
So you specified the images.
outdated, but
100, but a height of 60.
Outdated, it's out, so.
it only tracks one. So I don't know. It's in Python too, which is what we're doing right now. So definitely not TensorFlow.
Anybody else not able to get to this point? Or you stuck, two images stuck in the corner overlapping?
I got some issues.
Are you overlapping?
That's just their default.
My laptop froze.
Froze completely?
I don't know, it's just this right now. I'm not trying to run it.
So that's the.
The code's still there, we need to be, close it.
Yeah, oh, you somehow maximize the upper screen. Slow down. Yeah, you somehow maximize this upper screen. Let's just close that real quick.
So it's still running, so it was running.
I don't think it was running. I just hit start and I get an exception. And then simply type the plus that will
Godzilla. Just like us.
Yeah. Let's make sure. So that's the file. So you see the switches program. That's the actual file. So try putting it in there.
It's like Godzilla supposed to look like that.
Yes. If you want it to be bigger, make it bigger. So instead of 100, 100, make them 200, 200. Okay. Anybody else not able to get to this point?
Yeah, I can't see it still.
One more.
I can't see the code.
Oh, you still just see the code?
I think
I see the
so.
code
Oh,
too.
no, this is wrong. Okay, so it's on Python. Yeah, that's another syntax error.
Alright.
Your first time using Python, right? Should be good. It's pretty easy to use. That's the
The bottom part of the code is.
Um,
Alright. Hopefully we'll.
yes. Yes.
Okay. So once we can display these
Nah.
things on the screen,
Well, it's
then
crashing,
just a matter
man.
of,
It's been crashing this
putting
whole
them in the
time.
right place, getting them to move, making sure
Good?
they collide, which
No.
sounds hard, but that's all built into Pygame. You just have to check. It's just a simple if
I
statement.
think I might have
And then
bombed
also
my
getting
stuff
the,
somehow.
to check when the space bar is being pressed, which again, is also built into Pygame. The Pygame makes things really, really easy. Other programming languages would be importing more modules and setting things up and having it objects and all that.
You got yours working?
Check.
Yeah.
It might have physics, but in this case, in my project, I
Is it
did
on front if you want?
That'd be syntax error.
the physics for him jumping up and down.
So right now, we're not focused on the event.
So I'm going to.
I'm gonna need to
Okay,
download it
so
from-
let me jump back into the full.
I will need to download it first, right?
There we go.
But
So now let's talk about the rest of the code that we did.
I'll walk you through it.
So,
Diana?
you guys got ground position. Let's get the images into the
I don't
right
know.
place, first of all.
I-
So, ground position is just a value I created to help you keep track of where the ground
Is it Diana? No.
No, no.
That's why I created, I
My-
created
my-
it up here, but I
my-
really
my
need to.
syntax.
I could have put it much lower there.
Dino.
So now, let's talk about these other lines. So you have the get rect to Dino and get rect to cactus or whatever images there were. Let's talk about the other lines that are underneath them. There, I'm changing the proportions and position of my images, or my rectangles. The rectangles
Mine just
control
keeps
the position, the image is the image. So, by changing the position and size of the rectangles, I'm actually, well, if I change the position of the rectangles, that changes the
Oh,
position.
that's
of the
why.
image. But this
That's not.
size of the rectangles is actually independent. So first thing I'm doing is I'm actually setting the width and height of the dinosaur and the cactus to be smaller than they are.
And I still
Now what that means, the image is actually still going to be the same size. We sized it at 100, 100. But by making the rectangle smaller, that means its hitbox is smaller. So it actually, if you can leave those lines out, but then it'll look like the cactus and the dinosaur. The game will say game over for touching, even if they're not touching. So I allowed them to get a little bit closer. The images can just about overlap before it says they're colliding. So that's where I'm setting the width and the height. The much more important one is the center. The center is, the center position of where it is. So that's where I'm moving my images. So DynoRect.center gets, and I specify positions. So for the dinosaur, I'm saying start in the position of 25% over on the screen and at ground position for the height. So X position, 25% over, and height at ground position, which for me was 60% gain. Then for the cactus, if you noticed on my program, the cactus actually starts off screen and works its way on the screen. So I'm specifying start the cactus at the ground position for the Y, but for the X, I'm starting it at width, the full width, all the way on the right, and then another 150 more. So I'm actually starting it off screen, and then it moves on. Moves on this way. So if you want the cactus to start on the screen, you'll want to make sure it's within width and height, instead of being outside of it like mine is. So if you try running your program now, they should be in the right positions, wherever you specify it. So again, DynoRect.width, DynoRect.height, cactus.width, cactus.height. That doesn't change the image visually, that just changes its hitbox, for those of you who are familiar with the term. The center does change. The center image does act, or the center position does actually change where they go. So everybody able to see where those things are, and you can change the values around if you don't like exactly where they are. If you say, I want my dinosaur to be dead center of the screen, that's at in position 50% or 0.5 of the width. If you say, I want him to be exactly 100 pixels away from the left side of the screen, you specify 100. All right, everybody able to see their images at different positions? All right, anybody have a trouble with that?
No.
No? So if you ever want to change it, that's when you change it. Center is where it is. So the position of the
I can't
rectangle
get this
affects
thing
the
to work
position of the
now.
image. But the size of the rectangle does not affect the size of it.
Oh, finally.
So do we just copy and paste? and
Okay.
change the name?
I got the window. That's good.
Nice. But your images aren't shown, right?
Yeah, these two lines are, or these are all the same.
Do you know
Mine-
where they are here?
So the.
Oh, it's because you're not having them in the while loop. So if you highlight these, all these blocks, yeah, highlight this block, highlight up, and then, so now it's in the while loop. So indentation matters with Python. There's no like brackets. Yeah, that's good.
So.
And then, so now try to
here
save
I'm
it and run it
creating a
again.
lot more variables for
So
you.
save the
Okay.
file, yeah, run it.
Starting with.
That makes sense. I wasn't.
Yeah.
This is my dinosaur. Dinosaur, this is the position that my dinosaur should move every frame. I started at 0, 0. I'm going to manipulate the gravity,
Dude, it's
which is what
official.
the
We got a
following
box on
variables
this
do.
thing.
Jumping is false.
One way.
Gravity gets 0.0.
What happened?
So 0.02 I'm going to use as my force of gravity. And jumping gets false tells me whether or not the dinosaur is in the middle of jumping. I use that to tell me, can the dinosaur currently jump? So the dinosaur, when he jumps, I say jumping is true, and so then he's in the process of jumping, and it only goes false when he hits the ground again. That stops me from jumping in midair, forever jumping up, right? Following that, I have the cactus speed, which I specify as just a constant. Cactus moves -1 pixels across the frame, horizontally, and 0 pixels vertically.
Is this all in the loop and still?
Nope, this is all outside the loop.
Okay.
This is all set up. I'm setting this up once before the program begins. And then inside the loop is where we'll do the updates. Then there's score. Perhaps that one's a bit obvious. This is just the numeric counter for the score. And then I've got some more complicated lines. This is how I'm drawing the text. So the text is just another image, except instead of importing it like PNG, I have to actually get the font and generate the text on the fly. So what these next lines do, starting on line 36, I start by creating a font object. This controls the font and size of my text. So I chose Comic Sans 24 point. So I created the font. Then, using the font, I render some text. So text gets font.render score : and then I add the score. So score, you see on line 34, is 0. So it'll start as score : 0. Then the next, the false refers to anti-aliasing. I specified false for anti-aliasing. And then color. I specified 0, 0, 0, a triplet of 0, 0, 0, which is the color. 0 for red, 0 for green, 0 for blue. That's black. So black text. That is the end of the line for text as well. Then for the end text, the game over, I specified an empty string. So it actually appears invisible at the start. Game over doesn't appear until you leave. But also 0 or false or anti-aliasing, color black. All right. Do those lines make sense? I talked about everything from line 28, specifying the speed, down to jumping, gravity, cactus speed, score, font, and then the text. That make sense? So this is all just setup. This is outside the loop. Setting things up. The only other thing before, it's actually already on the screen, the only other thing before the start of the loop is my game over. And I started false, game's not over. So this is With that is everything that comes before the loop.
It's kinda hard
Everything
to
else
follow with
is
that
going to be
remote.
handled every single
I'm
time.
just closing
We're
it.
calculate, we're gonna modify,
He's
we're
just
change position,
typing
change
it on.
values.
Drawing
Okay.
Let's just go through this.
That's all that comes
Yeah.
before the loop.
Drawing stuff on the board.
Now, we haven't actually done anything with like the speed or whatnot. So even though we specified these variables to control the speed, we haven't actually updated any positions yet. Everybody got this part of the code?
Inside the loop, but I don't know how.
Definitely not,
Definitely not. Okay.
Gideon.
So we'll share the complete code later. I know I'm taking a long time, I'm gonna get through it.
Okay, that makes sense.
So, inside the loop, first thing in the loop is still this event method. Then I have another if statement, and this if statement actually encompasses the rest of the loop outside of the draw. So, this if statement just checks, is it game over? If it's not game over, we process the game. If it is game over, don't process the game, which effectively means just freeze everything. That's why my game freezes when it's game over.
So it's indented to the left one? Does that mean, where does that place it in the loop?
So, this is my loop,
Right,
it contains everything here.
right,
Then here's my for loop, and it contains just this if statement.
okay.
This if statement is outside of this for loop.
Okay,
inside
so
of this while.
the second one helps, like, make it a new statement.
Yeah,
Okay,
so then everything
Inside
else inside of my if statement, all the way down to
the
the
loop.
base.
Okay, thanks.
So everything from this point on is inside of this if not game over. The very first thing inside of that if not game over is I update the dinosaur's gravity. Gravity applies a little bit harder. So the dinosaur's vertical speed. So it's, the dinosaur's speed is a two-length array, where the first element is the x, and the second element is the y. So I'll update the second element of the array, index 1, to add gravity. So gravity is applied to the dinosaur's vertical speed.
So it actually speeds up as it goes down?
Yeah.
That's
so
cool.
it's actually applying gravity to it. And just like you and I right now, when it's on the ground, it's still having gravity applied to it. Notice there's no if statement there. Always apply gravity. It's just if it's on the ground stops it. So like just like I have gravity applied to me right now, if I jump, it pulls me back down. But if I'm standing on the ground, gravity's still pulling, it's just not pulling me down. Because I specified where the gravity is. That's actually what this next if statement does. If the dinosaur is below the ground, put him on the ground. So in other words, if gravity is trying to pull the dinosaur below the ground stops them. So if the dinosaur's center Y position, so dinosaur rect dot center Y, if that's greater than or equal to the ground, in other words, if the dinosaur's on or below the ground, push him back up to the ground, push the Y back up to the ground. Then also make sure he's not jumping and his vertical speed is 0. So just like with me, if I jump and if gravity tries to pull me beneath the ground, it stops me at the ground, and I'm no longer jumping when I hit the ground, and my vertical speed stops, goes to 0. So I'm just quite literally just writing the physics for how physics work here. So that should control the dinosaur's gravity, but at the moment, we don't have any way of making him jump. So that's what this next if statement is for. We're checking if pygame.key.getPressed, this is a complicated one. So pygame.key.getPressed gets us a whole array of every pressed key. Then I use my array syntax to check for pygame.key underscore space. K underscore space means the space of the key. So what all that if statement does is it checks all of the pressed keys and sees if space is one of them. So if space is one of the pressed keys, then I go inside the if statement. The first thing I do inside of that if statement is check if the dinosaur's jumping. If he's in the middle of jumping, he can't jump again. There's no midair jumps allowed. So he can't jump unless he's on the ground. So if he's not jumping, what I do is first thing, he's now jumping. If he's not jumping and I press the space bar, he jumps. So now he's jumping. And then I set his vertical speed to -3. This combined with the gravity now makes it so he can jump in a realistic way. So remember, gravity's always applying to him. So his jump just gives him vertical speed, just sets his vertical speed so he starts moving upward. But but gravity's constantly pointing down. So it's 3, then the next frame it goes down by my gravity value, which is 0.02. So now it's 2.98, and then it goes down to 2.96, and then 2.94, and 2.98, all the way down until it hits 0 at the peak of his jump, and then gravity pulls him back down. Gravity's negative 0.02, negative 0.04, negative 0.06.
So you let him jump higher?
If you, to make him jump higher, just make his speed a little bit faster. 4 instead of 3. So, here. I'll make it 2. This is a short jump. I wanted it to be 3, so 2 is going to be a very short jump for him. Oops, I've got the wrong one. Right, hold on. It's going to show me this one. Let me switch over to the older one.
Okay. Yeah, 4 is pretty high.
Yeah, so, I mean, you could also, if you want his jump to be like really rapid, you could specify a high speed, but then also a high gravity. Start over. I don't have a start over button implemented yet, so I'm going to just do it manually. Okay, so this is with a low speed. Notice he's not even jumping up high enough to go to the cactus. But if I go around the other way and I say, that's not high enough, let's go negative 10. That's pretty high. He's going to have a high jump.
That's too high. Because 4 is
That's
already high.
that's not going to be that high. I mean, he's going to do a little jump. Jump on the cactus. Woo! There he is. Gravity is applying to him. There he is. All I've done is change his vertical speed. So his jumps are now very powerful. And gravity is the same. If I made gravity stronger, it would pull him down faster. If I made gravity lower, he'd be a little more floaty, like he was on the moon. So this is where you control your physics. I'll change it back to 3. So that's where we control the dinosaur jumping. Now, if you just do that, your guy's not going to jump yet. You need to make sure your rectangle is moved appropriately. That's what this next line does. In fact, do it for your cactus too.
Does Python, this Pygame, does it accept decimal or integer or whatever?
Yep. Floats.
Yes. Float, sorry, float. Right.
So the rectangles have a convenient built-in function that controls their movement. If you have a 2-lane array for their speed, vertical and horizontal, you just pass that speed to the move function that works. So dinosaur rect dot move speed gets dinosaur rect. It returns the new rectangle, so you have to set the variable. So the first one sets the dinosaur's movement speed, the second one sets the cactus's movement speed, since I also created the cactus. Now, just with that point, if you run it, you'll see movement and you'll be able to jump and press the space bar to jump. No collision yet, so your guys will just pass straight through one another. But you'll be able to see them move and jump. You guys able to get that far? Run your program, able to get them to do the little hop. Cactus moves across the screen. Okay, I'm not seeing any descent. Now, if you actually run your thing and watch the cactus, you'll notice that it goes from the right side to the left side, and then it's gone forever, right? So in my game, you saw the cactus come across, and then another cactus comes across, and then another cactus comes across. Well, I cheated. I've got one cactus, and when he moves off the left side of the screen, I teleport him back to the right. So that's what this next if statement does. If the cactus is less than 150, so remember, the left side of the screen is 0. So if the cactus is way over here at 150, teleport him all the way over to positive 150. So he ends up from off this side of the screen to off that side of the screen. So he can move back across. So then your cactus should go across, come back, go across, come back, go across, come back. Oh, also, this is where I get my score. Again, my score system is pretty primitive. Whenever the cactus does its teleport, I get +1. So it's not actually when the dinosaur completes the jump. It's when the cactus goes back. Yeah?
Can you scroll to the text?
All the way to the text. Yeah. Now, we're not drawing the text yet, by the way. So here we've created the text, but we haven't actually drawn it on the screen. So even if you have this text bit, it's not going to show yet.
Could you scroll down a bit?
Once you guys,
It's crashing
you
again.
got it?
Yeah.
Maybe I can show both, kind of, sort of.
I just had an error.
Okay.
Game over, non-divide.
Okay, so then, this is as far as we got. Everybody got up to this point?
Think so.
Jumping the next, and I think the last thing, is to check for the collision. So after the cactus moves, yeah, all that's left is we check for collision. So, if dino rect dot collide rect cactus rect. In other words, if the dinosaur collides with the cactus, it does the check for us. How convenient. So what I do in that case, I do two things. First, I set game over to true. Now remember, my whole loop is inside of an if game over false, if not game over. So if game over becomes true, game stops. It still draws, but it stops updating. All the physics, everything just stops updating. So setting game over to true should make that happen. The second thing that I do is I render the game over text. So font.render, game over, false for anti-aliasing, text color 000 for black, and then I have this additional condition, which is background text color. So this is it's going to be black on white. White is 255, 255, 255. So with that, the only thing left, I believe, is to render the text onto the screen, and then you guys will have it working the way mine does. Oh, there's one more thing inside of the while loop is this to update the score counter text. So here I'm recreating the text for the score counter so that if the score goes up, it's actually shown in the text. If you don't do this, it'll say score 0 forever. Once you've got all that, then we just need to add some blitz to your for your text. Let's scroll down just a little bit more so we can show those. So now you're going to want to add in the blit for your t-text. So the one I just called text, that's my score. So I create my text, and then I pass in a tuple of width 80% across the screen, height 10% down. So that's the top right corner. That's where my score goes. And then for my end text, that's my game over text. I draw that dead center. Half of the width, half the height.
So what's the blit? Oh, just that?
Yeah. If you've got all of that, then your game should work exactly like mine, assuming that you have the same numbers and the same images. Of course, if you use different images, it'll look slightly different. If you made the gravity lower or made the images slightly bigger, then it might look a little different. That's where you gotta tweak it to make it work right for yours. But that's basically everything. Save this file because it has all of the, thank you. Save this file because it has all of the important things that you need to know. How do I get an image to display? It's blit. How do I render some text to display? We showed how to do that. How does gravity work? Here's one way of doing it. Now I'm sure Pygame has built-in physics simulation stuff. I decided to recreate it myself because I only needed very simple, The cactus technically doesn't have any physics, it just constantly moves left. And only the dinosaur has physics, and only for its jump. It doesn't move left or right. So I just recreated very simplistic physics. Alright. Anybody got errors that they need help with? Anybody need to scroll around? Able to get it to work? Able to play the game? It actually wouldn't be too hard to add a reset button to this. But we could do something along the lines of, all it would really require is check to see if the button is pressed for reset. Maybe it's R for reset. Or maybe we could just reuse the space bar. Maybe if it's game over, the space bar, instead of jumping, causes it to reset. Either way. Then we'd have to reset score to 0, and we'd have to reset the positions of our dinosaur cactus. And that's kind of it. So it wouldn't be too difficult to make that work. That'd be a good additional exercise for you guys. And then of course, now at the moment, it's kind of limited. I'm only drawing the one cactus, and I'm moving it back and forth, so I really only have one cactus. If you want to do the actual dinosaur game, you'll need to be able to display more than one cactus. And also the cool background, running across the desert. Also, I think in the real game, the dinosaur can duck under birds. We'd have to figure that out. That's a more to do question.
Can you do have the cactus pop up randomly within the different leaves?
Sure. wanted to do something like that, I don't actually know how to do random number generation in Python. It's been too long. How do we do random numbers? Anybody know?
Loud. Wait, is yours running?
Let's see. Just look that up.
Blew
Python
up.
random number generator.
Sending in the
Generate
missiles.
pseudo-random numbers in Python.
That's actually pretty simple. So you just input random, yeah, you just put random. I think the C++ is actually similar, but not exactly that easy. Just input random.
Well,
I got a bunch of errors. Mine's like
import random.
gravity not defined, game over not
Is it just random, random.py? Yeah, okay. And then
I mean,
what's the
something
actual
here.
function for integers? Rand
Shenanigans.
range.
You
And
crashed.
I say, so for the cactus, I'm gonna just come down here. So I wanna find where the cactus gets teleported. So that's this. So instead of adding 150 every time, I'm going to add rand, I have to say random, random.rand range, and then I have to specify the start and the stop point. So I'll say minimum 50, maximum 200.
Interesting.
And then let's also make it a little bit even more interesting. Cactus speed gets.
I can't even get mine running.
Random.rand range
This guy's already updating the package.
between. Does
Bam.
it have to be positive? Negative. Let's say negative 5 to negative 1. Does that work? Maybe. Oh. So now the cactus should. Nope. Cactus breaks. Argument must contain 2 numbers. Maybe it must contain 2 numbers. I think it contains 4. I must have accidentally overwritten it. Hold on. Oh yeah, cactus speed of 1. That's my mistake. Cactus speed of 1. And then it's not an array, it's just rand range. Okay. So now it should start at random positions off screen.
So what is the true name of that game called?
I don't know. I think it's just the offline dinosaur game. The good offline dinosaur game.
Yep. Oh, generating way too far. Oh, switching up.
Score's going up, so it's doing something.
Do you just set the X random or what about the Y coordinate?
I thought I just specified the X. Let's see. Cactus rect, center X gets width plus rand range 50 to 200. So that specifies, here, let's instead of.
Oh, it could be behind it.
Let me actually, let's go with 600 to 1500. I know where that range is. And then the cactus speed, that's the
Okay.
problem. Cactus 0 speed, I was changing it to Y speed. Cactus was going diagonally. Okay, so now the cactus should, when it teleports to a random position, on or off screen, and when it comes back, it'll be also at a random speed. There we go.
Oh.
Too fast. Okay. So 5 is too fast. Let's make the maximum 4. Negative 4. Let's also make it so that it has to appear off screen. So width plus, and then let's say 0 to 1,500 is a bit much. Let's say 500. Now,
You gotta beat this. You gotta make it to 100.
so first one's consistent, and then
Be careful.
faster, and then faster, and then it should be random. I should also get slower. I'm not getting slower.
You got this. Let's make it to 20. Alright, that's lower a little.
Is the standard speed -1?
I thought it was -3 for the cactus.
I think the way the.
I think it was
works
-1.
For the Google game,
Alright, you
you
can
start
go.
off with like,
That's you.
you start off with slow speed, but it slowly progresses instead of having random, like let's say
Yeah.
like you get it.
Depending on your score.
So that's something we have to figure out. Got to go too fast.
Right.
So why is it only going fast? It should go not just fast.
It starts and stops at -1, so it's
So Yeah, so the cactus speed should be, no, the cactus speed is -1, okay. So it can, the slowest speed it can go was the standard, and the fastest it can go is -4. So, now unfortunately, I think -1 is in fact the slowest we can go. Actually, no, I think we should be able to go slower. Let's go 0. Does this work for decimals? I don't know if it does.
Just
Let's
try
try
it.
0.2. It might not like the floating point.
It's Python, but you did.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Oh, there you go. No, that's the first one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's
it doesn't like now.
Okay, so
I'm just Jerry.
I'm gonna cheat. So it's gonna go from,
Or just start your original one at 2.
I'm gonna go from -20 to -1, but divide it by 5. That gets me from -4 to -14.
Wait, what threw the error? Random.randrange or?
Yeah, it was random.rand range, it wants integers.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
There we go. And let me, just make sure I don't have any floating points.
So it does want integers
So
and
now it
not
should be able to
float.
generate, mathematically, that can be anywhere between -4 and -0.0, -0.2.
Okay.
So it might be much faster or slower, or just faster, or just faster, or just,
Super slow. It's super slow right here.
might be too slow.
Is it-
Maybe a bit too slow there.
It's like, come on, screen.
Might be broken. I think it's just broken.
Try jump.
I mean, I can jump.
It's not broken, it's just super slow.
Yeah, well, the cactus is broken.
It's like the sky.
Okay, so just to make sure that it's still in fact working. Oh, I know what the problem is. Yeah, it's not, we'd have to remake how the physics works. It doesn't actually like moving less than a pixel every frame. So with the dinosaur's gravity, it's fine because gravity's constantly gonna be pulling it bigger and bigger in mass. But with the cactus, if it's constantly being told to move less than a pixel every frame, it just won't go. So it's just stuck off screen. So looks like the smallest we can go is -1, so it can only get faster from here. Here,
Professor,
let's
do you have
actually-
a
I have a,
a
here's a fun
timer?
way of doing it. There we go. Actually, we'll do plus
This is the turn out.
0. Plus 0.5. So every 2 jumps, it'll get slightly faster.
Does it have a-
I'm not setting the speed, I'm increasing the
like a
speed.
time in the loop? It hits every single loop.
So now it's just gonna get faster and faster and faster until I can't.
Right,
So
but
that first one's normal.
like for the speeds, what's this time?
And then watch it breaks. Or it just breaks.
Oh, yeah, I get it.
Oh, whoops.
Is it
I know what I did wrong.
possible.
Anybody else know what I did wrong?
It's uploaded, yeah.
Yeah.
I made it positive. If the speed's supposed to be negative, I'm supposed to have to subtract the speed to get it faster. I made it slower. Okay, minus 0.5. Now I should do it. Okay, here we go. First one's normal. Easy jump. And it should get faster, only by fractions. And then every 2 jumps it gets a little faster. So it's even faster, and even faster. And eventually it's too fast for me to respond to.
You can have like a while, it's like 100.
Cheat. No.
Yeah, once it becomes too fast. So yeah, I mean, if you guys can modify it and add to it and make it as interesting or as challenging as you like. But that's the basics. I mean, if you can do this, or if you can reference your own document here, you can load images and draw them on the screen. You can move them around. You can resize them. You can draw text. You can control things with buttons. And if you need any information that's not here, you go here. This is all the useful stuff. But it even tells you most useful stuff. Color, display, draw, key, mouse. You want to do some mouse controls. Music, timing. Surface. Surface is any drawing position. So the screen is a surface. All images are surfaces. And there's even more advanced stuff if you want to get into it. So you've got all the stuff that you need here. That's sort of the end of this little demonstration. I took up more time than perhaps we specified. But now, this is where you guys take it and run with it. Change the numbers, tweak it a little bit, add new things. So, let's say you wanted to add the birds that you have to duck under. What you probably have to do is, well, first of all, you have to get another sprite for your dinosaur. Whenever you press the down or S or whatever, You then have your dinosaur image swapped with the ducking one. And then also you change your dinosaur's rectangle to be shorter so that its hitbox gets smaller. So that's one way you can do that. Alright, any questions?
My dinosaur, my dinosaur just like jumps on its own.
Constantly?
Yeah.
I'm guessing you never specified jump gets false. So when you hit the ground, when your dinosaur hits the ground, you need to make sure jumping gets false. Because otherwise, you'll constantly be set to jumping, I think.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's your space bar, it's actually hard to say.
There. But you don't click it.
Come on, you do it. No photo?
It has to be negative.
So, the pygame.org also has other tutorials that you can look through that have other stuff, other useful tutorials like controlling a character, getting something to move left, right, up, down, or jumping presses.
So the axis is moving left.
Let's see.
So it's on the negative x-axis.
Cause.
There you go.
Still being jumpy.
Supposed to go faster, like that.
Yeah, you're faster.
Faster, faster, faster. Too fast.
Well, then,
I'm making
if
it.
it's too fast, you can just, so you know what this means, minus equal?
That's where it goes.
You know what this means, right? So it
deducts, yeah.
Yeah, deducts, so if you want to change it, you can do 5.1 only, so it gets slower.
Instead of running back.
Well, let me see what it's doing. How's your laptop?
Yep.
I think I know what it
Yeah,
is.
I can really quickly.
They
go
should not
here.
find that.
Oh,
The
it's
reset.
not indented, it should be
Let's
inside
see.
this one, right?
That works.
Yeah, it should.
That works.
Your issue is that your dinosaur jumping can't go, right?
Yeah, it was true here. This just said to true, I just said to false. It should be false. I thought that was causing it.
This is false. Jumping is shot as well.
No, I mean, you start understanding. Like the spacing is defining the.
It's jumping.
I'm hella good at this. I need a 100.
No, no. I think it'd be interesting to learn, you have the reasons, right?
Yep. Don't worry, so how do I set the speed limit?
I mean, you don't
Those are weird. You don't have to be like jumping to actually make it jump.
get some stuff done, cause
That's
the
the space bar.
Wait, but you said jumping the true, but where do you handle the boolean to
nowadays.
actually make it jump?
And the frameworks, it's like.
That's where you press the space bar.
Right, wait, you said jumping to true, right?
Yes.
Now, how does jumping set equal to true make it, change the what?
Jumping to true does not
Oh,
actually.
speed.
Well, how do I set
The
the
speed
limit?
-3, that's what makes
The
it
limit,
jump.
like, it increase, but.
All the jumping
Oh,
true
that's it.
false
The method
is
goes
Yeah,
stop
so then
jumping.
those are-
Does that make sense?
So you need to.
Oh, that was in my bad.
There you go.
Okay.
So
I,
you need to check.
he had jumping
You need
is
to check
equal to
check
true
the
when it
speed
should have
is
false.
equal to 4 or not.
And I fixed it, and I was like, hold up, it's still
You
good
did?
enough. The speed was still being.
So you wanna put a gap, before you decrement, you have to check if it's more than the limit or not.
Can I get a group photo, guys?
Yeah.
Or you guys want to all throw your hands up or something?
So the think of it, think
Yeah,
of it.
yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, from here, if y'all leave the camera and like throw your hands up or do whatever.
Sure.
We should get like somebody jumping over something else, like a dinosaur.
Or
So
some
just
people
smile.
want to sit or whatever, yeah, stand up or do something.
So, this.
Dinosaurs! Go on, no hands! Throw some hands up, raise the roof!
T-Rex hand.
Alright, yeah, there you go. T-Rexes, guys, throw them to the T-Rex. Dinosaur.
Nice.
I think this is.
Wait, we take the photo.
Yeah, throw up your T-Rex.
Let's see what's within
Yeah.
there. You want another one?
Yeah, I wasn't paying attention.
Alright, yeah. Alright, T-Rex, guys. Let me see your meanest dinosaur. Panthers. Oh, here we go.
Nobody's with me, bro.
Alright, cool. I think I got some.
Nice. Everybody, right? Okay.
Yeah, I think we're good with the dinosaur.
Oh, we're taking pictures.
So you wasn't ready?
Jurassic Park, what is that?
The cactus speed
For the
is
movement,
one
just
to
like
four.
the interval and everything.
Wait, was I ready?
Using the
Yes.
Oh,
yeah, you wanna see it?
I mean, I'm just quite
You get what I mean?
Yeah, you're good.
Position
I
to-
got you. I got you full dino.
Like, in here, so if the cactus speed is on,
There's some more in there.
the cactus speed goes one way.
Oh, I get it.
Okay, that's actually funny. You can download Visual Studio Code on these without having to ask for administration.
Really?
Yeah, you can't do Visual, you can't do the normal Visual Studio.
That's crazy.
And then, so this is four, and these whole blocks are one, right?
There we go. I figured out how to do the reset button.
I mean, if you got a thumb drive, you could probably just boot.
Oh yeah, I can probably just download it onto that and then transfer it. So I can do that at home.
Minus four.
Okay, but that's the best is we'll go.
Yeah.
Not that it matters too much. What I was thinking is to run,
Yeah.
you need to run, it's like this, I think it's called CUDA. It's so that your computer, the program can actually run on your GPU for the actual.
I looked at some of the documentation, that was way over. The whole
I'm
GPU
a-
documentation is gnarly.
Yeah, I'm just was like,
like,
I'm gonna,
nah.
I'm gonna watch this,
Start somewhere
yeah, I'm
else.
gonna watch this 3-hour video of this other guy doing it. Then I'm gonna copy it and then see what happens and then modify it because, you know, that's just how you do it with coding.
Yeah.
You figure out what someone else is doing and then you make it legally distinct.
Easy floppy.
At least when you're beginning. After that, you make the stuff and then everyone else does it.
Fair game, fair game.
Don't worry about it. I'm not ready to go ahead and take the rules. Look how good I am. I'm so good at this game.
That's not how you do it.
Now we're only getting afterwards of that cactus.
Pay to win.
Alright.
Let's see, hold on, I gotta hit a score of 1,000. It is actually getting faster, it's going to keep accelerating. Alright, there we go, like this. Then we're back. I have to go, my planet needs me.
Oh yeah, you end up taking a lead.
No,
Yes,
he's somewhere in the stratosphere. I let go, he's gonna come crashing back to our
yeah,
place.
it's
There he is.
this one over.
It looks a lot easier to me.
Oh, yeah.
Way easier, right? It's like a.
I mean,
Yeah.
this is easier, and you can just input stuff.
Right,
I think the other one,
It could be your.
I think this one is just as well.
Yeah, the other one seems like it'd be a little.
My
No
cheating
more.
is too hard. I'm gonna do it, I want my cheating to be easier.
Yeah.
So I'm
Since
just
you
gonna
have
do
like
this.
more like pinouts that.
Mhm.
Right, the score should be right here, so.
Yeah,
Yeah, and you also have like a little bit more control, like.
Oh yeah.
He immediately falls. He doesn't stay in the air. I want him to just stay in the air. Curse gravity.
Like we're only showing a small segment of this, but yeah. I just knew TensorFlow because
You use TensorFlow?
I've wanted to use it. I was technically, yeah, I was technically supposed to learn how to use it like last year. Or for my robotics
right there.
they were using it to
Don't worry about it. Look at that.
be able to do autonomous for one of the competitions where they would use a little
It's like a robot vacuum.
yeah, pretty much.
Just take a screenshot.
Oh yeah, it would read what are the tag? They're pretty much like QR codes, but I forgot their official names. April tags. They're April tags are pretty much just funny QR codes. that your program can read, kind of like you would a face, and then each April tag has a name assigned to it. So you would train, oh yeah, you could also use it to, like, identify an object. Because there was like there was a lot of stuff. One of the things was just, can you detect an object and know where it is? So pretty much what you're actually wanting to do for your, cameras. Not that, but.
Well, basically,
Yeah, basically that.
Because I mean, it can't be having anything too big in there. It's probably just got a little piece of memory in there with. Well, actually, you can hook it up to the app, and it has more features when it's hooked up to the app. So I don't know what they have in there, but there's something.
Oh, is that like
I mean, the modules nowadays like have all the microprocessors, and like this probably has all most of the.
Wait, or the. So like this thing, if you press a button, it'll keep it self-centered, even if you move it.
Yeah, and it has accelerators or whatever the heck they call it. Right?
It's got a thingy in it.
Gyroscope.
Yeah.
But yeah, because when I say it's $25,
Yeah.
but it's got the whole microprocessor on it and everything, and it's like low power too.
Hey guys,
And it
if you
has-
go to the Discord and you go to workshops and events, I'm gonna post the source code that freshman Marches have.
Oh yeah.
So if you want to refer back to what he has on the board and stuff, it's gonna be on the Discord. When you download it, just extract the zip file and make sure you have Pygame installed. So it should be up. Yeah, it's up right now. So if you wanna refer back to the source code that he has, it should be there.
Alright, so let's be budget.
I got mine to run once so far.
But yeah, what I know so far is definitely do not use this thing for any TensorFlow training. It will literally set itself on fire. Oh, TensorFlow training. No, just this laptop. This laptop is bad. It can barely run Fusion. It will not launch Fusion fully unless everything else is not running. It can be the only thing that's running.
I know they make the laptops look cool, and then you're like, this is junk. Actually, like this is a decent laptop, but like the build quality is junk.
Yeah. Oh, is that like a piece? Oh, did you hear what
Dude,
is
the
that?
whole thing fell apart. All the things just broke.
Well, now you can't have an Ethernet cord.
I know,
I mean,
yeah.
I mean,
I can hold it there.
yeah.
Yeah.
For those times when you really need the internet.
But this is just a dual core, and I've ran into problems too with it being a dual core where they want 4 core minimum to run some things.
I mean, this is just a school laptop, so I wasn't expecting anything. If I bought my own laptop,
Oh,
it
bro, you took control of the AI. Did you throw up the OK sign?
Oh, I probably did, like accidentally.
Oh yeah.
So-
if you put your hand up, it'll stop. Make sure the light turns off on the thing.
There we go.
Yeah.
Nice.
Bro, I added like a breakpoint.
Oh yeah, it does just have a miniature version of like image recognition on it.
Yeah, it only does one face though.
No, you choked.
Let me make it fast.
Oh, it can only track one face?
I think so.
That's a little.
No, 0.1 is way too much.
Yeah,
You're not ready for 0.1.
if you build your own, then yeah, you can just have as many faces as you want. You could like, I don't know how much like information you can get from like TensorFlow. Like, can you tell where it is on like the frame and such?
I don't know.
But if it can do that, then you could just say, okay, if this thing's not centered, move in the direction of the face. kind of
So
thing.
you have the rectangle
That's what I was thinking about, trying to like,
I mean, you can definitely make it do what you want.
yeah. I mean, if you're coding it yourself, hopefully you can make it do what you want.
There's always a brute force, right? But as
It's
for like
I'm
having
going to
it,
set, I'm going to set the voltage for the motor manually.
kind of like artificially figure it out. Yeah, that's pretty. I don't know.
Yeah, so what was actually happening.
You have to kind of give it some kind of cue or
Which means they
something.
always colliding, so instantly the game. And instantly.
Something.
So the issue, so it's, their speeds were fine. but
I'm
the speeds
taking,
were
I
never
take the
fine.
render from the thing as the thing, and then put it into a different.
Maybe like. Yeah, I don't know. Whoever's maybe has the
They
most
probably-
movement or something. Maybe
They probably have something that tells you the positioning.
or
Because they.
or change maybe like. If they're just walking by, they're gonna stay like the same kind of frame. And if you're moving, like they might be able to make a decision there.
Yeah, it might be. There would definitely be stuff you would have to set limiters, especially if you want it to be a following camera. So don't hard center. Like only start moving if they're this much out of the frame or this much away from the center. Kind of thing.
Are you gonna drop this photos
You got
on
four this
Discord?
time?
This goes on YouTube.
You got 3 this
Oh,
time?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
well, I'm talking about the photos that you took.
Usually I don't put them on
After this meeting, we should have
the
a
Discord for the
because,
general chat, but I can.
Oh.
Sometimes
well,
we-
if you don't, can you airdrop it or something?
Honestly, Zach does social media, so I just kind of upload photos and then that's
then
his stuff.
then you get reimbursed.
But yeah, I can't airdrop because I don't have an Apple phone.
So you need to have a receipt.
But I can
send it to me?
Yeah.
I don't like to post on my
Someone
LinkedIn,
took control of
literally.
it.
Yeah. If you're, are you in the Discord?
Yeah.
What's your tag?
I think it's just,
I'll just DM you them
Oh,
so you
no,
get the
they're all
better
in response to you now.
high quality instead of me
Lucy
trying.
dot Yang.
Oh yeah, could you put your hand up for a second? Yep, there you go. It started tracking me.
Yeah. Lucy Yang.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'll send them to you like a couple hours. Usually I get home and I like run the video through some compression and then throw all the stuff in the drive.
We gotta do it at the same time.
So if you want to get good at coding, oh no, dude, I don't have Chrome.
No, you just have to cut your internet.
But I don't use Chrome.
Did you know that they actually put a feature
On the side.
they put a feature where you can block
You got
the
tests
Dino
on
game?
paper that you have to write on the code.
Oh,
And that is there. And then, it's like any problems, like, he wouldn't care about like, if you have logic errors.
Says
Or like, let's say you forget like.
says you only take messages from friends, so I guess you have to add me. Says you only take messages from friends.
Oh, okay, well, what's your Discord?
I
don't like big messages with weirdos.
Mine is still.
Yeah, you,
So it made you a lot better coder,
Okay, thank you.
but.
okay, let me
I gotta beat this class.
okay, yeah.
Bad, but.
Thank you.
Yeah.
If you guys program like C++ in like Google Docs,
You're going down.
I did my like kind of almost final
Wait,
program
what's
in
that?
Google Docs.
What was
We
that?
had- we had
What
to
is
do
that?
For my entire.
Can you go
full
to
class,
Can
we
you
did
hit him?
all of our tests
Bro,
on
yeah,
paper.
he just
Yeah, that's bad.
Like if you had like a spelling error, you didn't care, but if you had like a,
Yeah.
like let's say you're like missing like a parenthesis or
Yeah.
semicolon or anything, then that's a nice
Dude,
point.
last time I
Oh yeah.
played
Do you also have any idea of like what type of servo you'd want to use?
Anything. I actually I don't have any.